Hi. As Brendan was saying, my name's Karen. I'm the executive director of the Software Freedom Conservancy, which I'm going to tell you a bit about today. I am a lawyer, which there isn't much to hide upstage, so please don't throw any rotten fruit at me. I only do legal work now as a pro bono lawyer for charitable causes, which is really, really fun. I'm super into free and open source software, and I'm going to tell you why. I am a cyborg because I have a big heart. I literally have a big heart. My heart is 3 times the size of a normal person's heart. It's like very thick. And I am totally asymptomatic. I don't have anything like visibly wrong with me. I feel great, but I'm at a very high risk of suddenly dying. The medical term is actually called sudden death. It's like 2 to 3% per year compounding, and I was diagnosed at 30. So the chances of death by 40 were like 25%. So it was quite stressful, but my cardiologists said, well, this isn't actually a big deal because you can get a pacemaker defibrillator, right? And it's like it's like having people follow you around with paddles all the time, so that if you go and get into trouble, it's like clear. But the way that this works is that, so when I was at my electrophysiologist, and this is, a girl can't have too many cardiologists, I have like 3 or 4 of them. And so at the electrophysiologist, they're the ones that actually implant this device. They keep a bunch of them in their drawer. Right, like they just have samples of these. They're very expensive devices. People who get them call them their internal bling, because they're like tens of thousands of dollars. But they keep them in their drawer so that when the patients are there sitting there, they like slide it across the desk, and they encourage you to pick it up and hold it. And that's so that you feel like it's not so scary. Like you're getting this device implanted in your body, but look how small it is. It's not so bad. It's, you think about putting it, in your body. It's not a big deal, right? And so my electrophysiologist slides it over, and as I pick it up and look at it, he's looking at me expectantly, and I say, what does it run? And he says, run? So I said, yes, I explained, there's software on this device. Can you tell me anything about the software on it? And he said, software? And I said, yeah, there's software on this device, and it's really, I was a programmer, and then I was a lawyer, so I really care about these things. And he said, oh, don't worry, because today at in the office is the medical device rep from one of the companies, and he's here from Medtronic. He can come in and tell you all about it, right? And so I was like, oh, great. And so he calls this guy Tom in. He says, Tom, tell her about the software on this device. Can you tell her what it runs? And he said, runs? And I said, yes, there's software on this device. And he said, software? And apparently, no one had asked the cardiologist or the medical device rep about the software on these devices in their entire careers. This is thousands and thousands of defibrillators implanted, and it had never occurred to anyone to even ask about the software from these professionals, which was amazing. And so, for me, this is a picture of Bill Gates as a Borg. So for me, it was really hard to decide what to, to figure out what I needed. But I knew that if I didn't get the defibrillator, I would be at a really high risk of just dropping dead. So like for me, it wasn't, so I decided I had to get this defibrillator. Even though I couldn't get anyone to really tell me about the software, I kept calling the 3 major medical device manufacturers and asking to see the source code on the devices that they were going to implant in my body and literally screw into my heart. And none of them would give me access to the source code, even when I offered to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I decided I had to get the device because it was too risky for me not to, but I undertook an entire study over the software safety of medical devices, and what I found won't surprise any of you, which is software has bugs, right? And these devices have been hacked. So researchers have been able to control these devices remotely. They've been able to get personal information off these devices. They've been able to deliver fatal shocks with these devices, and with no extra, like no special equipment. There's one researcher who showed that with an iPhone in a public place like a shopping mall, you could take control of a defibrillator or an insulin pump and deliver a fatal shock or a lethal dose. And so once you realize how vulnerable our medical devices are, it's only a short walk to cars, where researchers have also demonstrated that cars are vulnerable, and they can take control of all kinds of different systems. And what they're doing is they're going through not necessarily straight for the ignition system or acceleration or brake system. They're originally going through like the entertainment system or the wheel maintenance system. And so as we're building this Internet of Things, where everything is talking to everything else, we don't even know what our critical software is. So it's easy to say, like, I want to make sure that we know free and open source software, studies all show, is better and safer over time. We know that, right? So for our really critical software, like our medical devices and our cars and our voting machines and our stock markets, right? It's easy to sort of make the argument that all these these life and society critical systems need to be free and open source software. All security experts agree that free and open source software is better and safer over time. But getting to but when we live in this Internet of Things where everything's talking to everything else, we don't even know what our critical software is, right? It's the software that we're not expecting that's talking to other software. So through this process, I went from someone who thought that open source was cool and useful to someone who thought that software freedom is absolutely essential. And so I've dedicated my career to promoting free and open source software. And that's why I work at the Software Freedom Conservancy. Conservancy is the nonprofit home for around 40 free software projects. And of course, the one that you're most familiar with is Mercurial. I mean, Darks. Git is a member project of the Software Freedom Conservancy. So our member projects are a part of us. They are like analogous to a division in a corporation. And so you'll see that a lot of the projects that we have are very widely used software. So yeah, we are basically the nonprofit for the projects that are within Conservancy. And they each operate as part of us, and we do everything that they need. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is that we do for our member projects and how that relationship works. So with for our projects, we don't do it alone. We're not imposing something on our projects that comes externally. Each of our projects has a leadership committee that is formed through organically from however that project works. And this is the Git project leadership committee. I don't know if Pef or Sean are here, but I know Junio's not here. But this is our, so they form a committee, and they basically represent to us at Conservancy and work with us. They represent the needs of the Git community, and so we're sure that the people who we're interfacing with the community are representative of the community. Some of our projects have that by election. Some of it have it more organically. And one of the things that we do when projects come into Conservancy is to work with them to help them figure out what kind of governance that they need that's best for them. So our projects are very widely varied. We are license agnostic. So some of our projects have Lex permissive licenses, and some have Copyleft licenses. And we do a lot of things for our member projects, and we work with them quite a lot and partner with them as their nonprofit foundation. One of the major things that we do is handling donations and helping them fundraise. So our projects, if they have any financial needs for anything, they'll come to us, and we basically provide all of the infrastructure for them to handle money, which is very helpful. We are a charity in the US, so anybody who... Can I ask for people, show of hands, how many people are here from the US? So not that many, maybe like an eighth. Raise your hand if you're Europe-based. So that's like 7/8 maybe, or maybe like 3/4. And raise your hand if you're from Asia. Okay, it's like as many from Asia as from the US. That's really interesting. Just for curiosity, raise your hand if you're also attending FOSDEM. Okay, fewer people than are here from Europe. Raise your hand if you've never heard of FOSDEM. Okay, so like 1/4 of you haven't heard of FOSDEM. FOSDEM is a major free software conference that is in Brussels for the weekend. It's about 8,000 developers or participants that come to Brussels or that participate in FOSDEM. It's a totally free conference, and you don't have to register. So I was really excited that the Git Merge team decided to have Git Merge here right the day before FOSDEM because it's so easy to attend both conferences. So I highly recommend that if you're here for another day or two, you check out FOSDEM as well if you haven't seen it before, because it is an insane and amazing conference. It's at the university, and it has like a lot of different, they call them dev rooms, so different tracks where each room covers a different topic. And like the hallway track is amazing. It's just so many people. And if you're here and interested in Git, then there's probably going to be a lot of stuff at FOSDEM that you're really interested in. Another thing that we do at Conservancy is that we're asset stewards, so which is really like legalese. But it means that we hold all the anything that the project has that like any intellectual property or any other kind of assets that a project might have is held by us because we are the nonprofit identity for that project. And those are can be things like copyrights or trademarks. For Git, this has been a really big part of what we've done. A lot of the things that we do for the Git project in particular has to do around, there's been a lot of many projects that have started with the name Git as well, and it's been somewhat confusing or potentially confusing. That's me being a lawyer. Potentially confusing. So what we do is we help the Git community manage the trademark and enter into like trademark licenses with companies that that maybe that have permission to use Git in their name, like GitHub, for example. We do a lot of this legal work for a lot of this trademark work, including like vetting the requests from people who come in who want to use the Git name for various things, including like putting Git on all kinds of just random stuff or wanting to use the Git name in some other ways. We've drafted a trademark policy, and we help enforce it. We've also entered into an opposition proceeding where a company was using the Git name without permission and got them to cease using it. There's a lot more information on this. PEF just published an email on the Git mailing list about why the Git committee makes the decisions that they do about who can use the trademark and who can't. And he talks about some of the history of the use of the name Git and how that relates to who's permitted to use it and who's not, and why and how. So I recommend checking it out. And a cool thing about free and open source software projects, and it's true of Conservancy and it's true of our member projects, we do everything in a free and open and transparent way. And so PEF has asked for feedback on some of these points. So I think it's a really interesting read, and you should check it out. We take care of all kinds of other legal stuff for our organization, for our projects, like if they have to enter into any contracts or if they need any legal stuff, because our projects are us. When our projects have legal work, we generally are doing that. I'm a lawyer, but I mostly work as executive director, and we have a general counsel named Tony Sebro who also works at Conservancy, so we're pretty well positioned to do that. Our legal work can include enforcement of the license. So how many people here don't know what Copyleft is? Does anyone not know what Copyleft is? So like, okay, so like 5 or 6 people don't know what Copyleft, maybe more, don't know what Copyleft is. So free and open source software, I'll be really, really fast for everyone who knows, is predicated on a legal structure. And there's licensing that determines what you can and can't do with the software. And so with free and open source software, there's a license that tells you that you can you can use this software, you can modify it, you can distribute it. For Copyleft, Copyleft says you can do whatever you want with this license, provided that if you make changes and distribute them, you have to do so under the same license. So detractors have called it viral, but it's not something that you can like catch, right? I think of it as more of being forever free. And there's a snowballing effect, because if you use Copyleft a project, it snowballs into more and more useful software that is used widely. And so many of our projects have a Copyleft license, and they've asked us to enforce it or to do trademark enforcement. So this is something that I think we are most well known for. It's not a huge portion of our actual activities proportionately, because we spend most of our time helping our member projects out. But we are out there helping to stand up for Copyleft. And when we do it in a very friendly and non-confrontational way. We've published principles of community-oriented enforcement, and we say that anyone who is violating a license today is tomorrow's contributor. And so having this in a community organization means that free and open source software stays friendly for business, right? We can promise that we won't monetize our enforcement, right? In a way that if the dispute winds up between companies, I'm unaware of any company that right now, we've asked a few to endorse the principles that we published along with the Free Software Foundation, and so far none have. And making sure that there are community organizations that are responsive to developers is really important and helps take a lot of the risk out of free and open source software. So we also support conferences and other project activities, and that runs the gamut for our projects. A lot of our projects, I think, for this conference, GitHub organizes it, but a lot of our projects organize their own conferences. So like Boost and Selenium and Evergreen, for example, and other of our projects organize conferences, and we help them do that. And we have an organizing team of volunteers from that project, and we work with them, helping them with all the legal stuff, helping them with logistics. But our projects need a widely varied set of things to help their project continue going. One of our projects that has really varied needs, but is very interesting and I wanted to tell you about, is called Outreachy. Outreachy is a diversity program, and it provides paid remote internships for globally for women, and within the United States also for people of color, to help attract more underrepresented people in free and open source software. We have 2 rounds per year. One of them syncs up with Google Summer of Code, and so that the timing is the same. And we have about 40 interns in each round. So we're now getting to coming up to about 500 interns that have come through the program. We're starting to see some really exciting metrics. So like some of our projects, some of our participants have gone on to become I think more than 50 of our participants have gone on to become full-length speakers at major conferences. And some of our participants have gone on to become mentors in the program. In fact, one of our participants had a mentee who became a mentor, but then that mentor had an intern who became a mentor, which meant that our original participant became a grand mentor, which is really exciting. And so with Conservancy, we're working on whatever important issues are facing free and open source software and really ethical technology in general. We also provide mentorship, advice, and guidance, whatever our projects need. So for some of our projects, it means figuring out what they need, figuring out how to keep their community vibrant, sort of looking at the short and medium-term and long-term needs of the project, where their software is going, and determining how to help with diversity, how to help with any kind of issues that face them. So we do all kinds of things, whatever is necessary. Sometimes that means that we help our project have regular meetings where anyone can participate. And whatever we do, we try to do it transparently. So with Conservancy, all of our materials are public. All of everything we possibly can do, we do out in the open. We we've become really like nonprofit nerds. So we know we know like everything there is to know about filing U.S. tax returns. And Bradley, who's at the booth, and I both record an OGcast, a podcast, but in OG format, where we talked about like line by line how these 990s work. And so we encourage everyone to check out the public filings of all of the nonprofit organizations that are in the field that are within the US, because all that material is available. Like you can see what people make, like what salaries the top people make. You can see all kinds of amazing things, and I highly recommend it. And we want to bring more transparency to this field and help. We also have a nonprofit accounting project where we're helping to create free and open source software that helps all nonprofit foundations with their bookkeeping and with their accounting. And the idea is that we're trying to solve our problems holistically for the nonprofit space and for free and open source software generally. So when we see a problem, we try to tackle it like in the free and open source software way. When our projects have elections, we run them for them, which is great to have an entity that is, is bound by rules as a charity and pledges these principles for organization to handle elections, so that the people who are running for the elections aren't the ones who have to handle the elections, which happens a lot in free and open source software. In general, we keep our projects safe. Like, being a part of Conservancy means there's actually some legal liability protection for our projects. We are a neutral ground, a truly neutral ground for any of our projects, and we help people participate in a fair way. We help maintain the balance between corporate interest and community interest. We try to do everything we can to promote free and open source software generally. As I said, we try to turn everything into an education opportunity, everything into materials that we can publish. So we've published, we help maintain a website called copyleft.org, where we talk about everything there is to know about Copyleft. We do a lot of advocacy as well to make sure that the interests of free and open source software are represented widely. So for example, just a few days ago, we published a statement against Trump's executive order on the US immigration ban. So we're somewhat US, we're based in the US, and so we have a lot of focus on the US, but we're a global organization, and our projects are everywhere. So while we're focused on a lot of the needs in the United States, we are also focused on needs elsewhere. And we've helped provide information for wide use in all kinds of places on multiple continents. So, sort of taking it back to where I started with this talk, you may not know this, but 3 million people in the world have pacemakers, and every year 600,000 are implanted. So as medical technology gets cheaper, and as our diagnostic tools and our devices get cheaper, more and more people will get implanted devices, which means that more and more of us will become cyborgs, right? It means that that over time, if we're lucky, probably all of us will become cyborgs. And the question is, what is the technology that we rely on? My medical device, my heart, my defibrillator is just a metaphor for all of the software that we rely on. And over time, as we rely more and more on software and it becomes more integrated in everything that we do, more and more of it needs to be free and open so that we can review it, so that we can make changes when we need to make changes. When there's really a problem, will we be in control of our destiny? And so I urge you to think about the issues around software freedom in addition to using free and open source software, because it's useful. Things like Git are so important because it's our basic infrastructure, and in some ways we're only as free as the tools that we use. And I'd really like to thank the GitHub team. Let's give them a round of applause, because it's so hard to organize a conference. And thanks to all of you, because the donation that is made to us from your ticket sales makes a massive difference. As I said, you can look at all of our financial information, and if you do, you'll see that we do a lot with very little, and every little bit really helps us a lot. I'd ask each of you to consider becoming a Conservancy supporter. For those of you who are based in the US, you can get a deductible. You might be able to deduct it from your taxes. But in any event, donating to us helps support all of our member projects. Thank you so much. I'll be at the booth all day today, so if you have any questions about this, I would love to talk to you. Thank you.